Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Dear students, I hope you are fine. In our previous lecture, we have done with the cellular adaptations, as you all know. And we came to know that adaptations are basically of four types. We could have hyperplasia, we could have atrophy, we could have hypertrophy, and we could have a metaplasia. And from our previous knowledge, we are able to know that adaptations to one environment make it a sort of survival, like Crowley has said. But after all, the supreme victory is by the one who proved themselves of so much harder stuff that the rest no power on the earth is able to destroy them. So the most important thing is not to change yourself but to live, and the people who are able to do so but unable to doing so have really made histories are sometimes martyrs. So today, as I have just told you about the Crowley saying, we are able to know that we are going to discuss about the survivals of the cell. So whether there is an injury, so cell has to undergo irreversible or the reversible changes. So today's lecture is all about the reversible cell injury and the irreversible cell injury. And as you, my dear students, you can see in this bar diagram that in the reversible cell injury, the cell functions are going to decline in a rapid fashion. So they are going to decline, and with the decline in the cell functions, there are the biochemical alterations in the cells. Because of these biochemical alterations, the cells are undergoing into the irreversible cell injuries, and because of these biochemical alterations, there are the anatomical changes. But first of all, these anatomical changes are ultrastructural changes, and these ultrastructural changes later on can be seen by the light microscopic changes, and after some time the injury is so irreversible that there could be a gross morphological changes in an organ or in a specimen or in a human being. So because cell is the basic constituent, so if it is affecting one cell, then it is obviously visible in the all of the body later on. So the most important question that we are going to discuss today is that cell membrane permeability defect is an essential component of the cell injury. So what are the various biochemical mechanisms that can damage the cell membrane during the irreversible cell injury? So today we are going to discuss about the irreversible cell injuries, and because of these irreversible cell injuries, there are the biochemical mechanisms which can lead into the that I have just told you that they can lead into the ultrastructural and later on into the gross morphological changes. So we have to draw the flow sheets of each of the biochemical components. And then the next question will be, we have to basically enlist the differences between the necrosis and the apoptosis. As you can see in this picture, first of all, we are going to discuss the necrosis and the apoptosis. As I have told you in my previous lectures, that necrosis is basically a type of the cell death which is a pathological one. So my dear students, just remember this thing: necrosis is a pathological cell death, while apoptosis is a physiological cell death. So first of all, if we are going to discuss the most important, the physiological cell death that is happening in the embryo, that is happening in the body on all over the times, like after the lactation, apoptosis could happen. Apoptosis could happen during the embryogenesis. We have discussed that pharyngeal structures removal or the other things removal are basically dependent upon the apoptosis. So this is a normal cell. When it is going to receive a signals that it has to undergo a cell death, then there will be the condensation of the chromatin and there is a formation of these webs in the cell membrane. And because of the formation of these cell membrane webs and the condensation of the chromatin, further it is going on further, and then there will be the cell fragmentation. and one of this bleb is going to be detached from the cell, and then these are going to form the apoptotic bodies. So these are the apoptotic bodies. As you can see here, that the membrane will remain intact in the apoptosis. So this is the first difference that we are going to mention again in the necrosis. In necrosis, the cell membrane will be ruptured. So my dear students, just remember this thing. Once there is no rupture of the cell membrane, so there is no leakage of the intracellular structures outside the cell surface. So these apoptotic bodies will be engulfed by the phagocytes like the macrophages, and they are being taken away or digested away. So this is the process of apoptosis. Because there is no leakage outside the cell, there will be no inflammation. Here what is happening? This is a normal cell, and first of all there is some stimulus which is going on for a longer period of time, and because of this there will be a injury to these cells. And here again you can see that there is a formation of the blebs within the cell membranes. But the first difference that you can see here, the size of both of these cells. In apoptosis there is a shrinkage in this cell, while in the necrosis there is a diffuse enlargement of the cell. And why this is happening? Because of the pump disturbance. There is a sodium potassium pump in the cell membrane, and because of the disturbance of the sodium potassium pump, what is happening? That the sodium is coming within inside the cell. So sodium is coming within the cell, and along with this sodium, what is going on? Water. Just remember this thing. Whenever there is a sodium or chloride is going on, the water will also go inside the cell. Because of the water, there will be the hydropic changes and the swelling of the cell. So the potassium will go out in the sodium potassium pump. So this is the basic causing a damage, because there will be the opacities will be formed, there will be the degradation of the cellular membranes, and because there is a loss of ATP, so when there is a loss of ATP there will be no mitochondria, no energy is there. So because of this there will be the degradation. Here you can see this is the degradation of the cellular membrane. Because of the degradation of the cellular membrane, cellular components will be leaking outside the cell. So because of the cellular materials going outside the cells, as these are the foreign bodies acting like the foreign bodies in the environment, they are going to initiate the inflammatory response. So there are lots of inflammation around this necrotic cell, and here you can see in apoptosis there is no inflammation. So this is the major second or third difference between this. Because of the breakdown of the plasma membrane, there is a leakage of the content, and also there are the amorphous densities in the mitochondria, and later on in this amorphous densities there is the calcium deposition in an injured cell. So these are the differences. If we are going to tabulate these differences, just remember this thing. Cell size, as we have just seen, will be enlarged, or there is a swelling because of the water is coming or will inside the cell, and there will be the hydropic change. While in apoptosis there will be the reduction in the size and there will be the shrinkage. While in the nucleus we have seen that in the apoptosis it is going to be fragmented into nucleosome size, but in the necrosis there will be the pycnosis. Then karyorrhexis means breakage of the DNA material, and karyolysis means lysis, total destruction. Then plasma membrane, as we have just seen, that will be disrupted in the necrosis, while in the apoptosis it will remain intact. Okay? While the cellular contents in the necrosis are going to leak out of the cells in the necrosis, while in the apoptosis they will remain intact within the apoptotic bodies. And as there will be no cellular contacts going outside, there will be no inflammation, while in necrosis as they are going to leak out of the cell, there will be the frequent adjacent inflammation. So necrosis is because of the pathological process, and apoptosis could be a physiological cell death, but this could be other way around also. So as far as we are discussing the cell injury. Cellular swelling is the first manifestation of almost all forms of the injury to the cell. When it affects many cells, it causes pallor, and because of this, it is going to increase the turgidity of that cell. And there will be the increase in the weight of the organ because of the water that is coming, hydropic changes which is coming inside the cell. And if we are going to see on the microscopic, there are small clear vacuoles which can see within the cells, and these are the water vacuoles that you can see, and these represent the distended pinched out segment of the endoplasmic reticulum also. So on microscopic you can see that this is a cell and there are small clear vacuoles type changes within the cytoplasm, and in this there could be distended and pinched out fragment of the endoplasmic reticulum also. So there could be a vacuolar or a hydropic change. Swelling of the cell is reversible. Just remember this thing, that it is almost always reversible thing. Don't forget this thing. This is your important MCQ. So cells may show increased eosinophilic staining. Why they are showing eosinophilic staining is because there is a progression towards the necrosis and there is a destruction, so we are having the more eosinophilic bodies. So my dear students, here you can see in this picture, this is a picture of the glomeruli. These are the glomeruli, these are the glomeruli, these are the glomeruli, and these are the tubules. Here these are the tubules, and these are showing the hydropic change. And because of this of the hydropic change, here you can see in this picture, if I am going to show it with the pen, that these are the cellular swelling, and here you can see that there is the pinkish eosinophilic materials, because we have just discussed that these are the endoplasmic pinched out vacuoles which you can see here, and these are going to show you the defragmentation within the tubules of the kidney. So reversible cell injury in the ultrastructural changes, we have just seen that there could be the blubbing in the cell membrane, there could be blunting, and the most important thing, because of the blubbing and the blunting, the microvilli which is on the upper surface of these cells will be lost. Here is a cell, and this cell is going to and these are the normal microvilli. Here you can see the normal microvilli, but after a reversible cell injury, what is going to happen, that this cell has a lots of blebs in its surface, and this cell has lost the microvilli. So then there will be the mitochondrial changes, and these mitochondrial changes includes swellings, and there could be the swelling, disruption of the membrane, and the appearance of the amorphous densities, and later on there will be the deposition of the calcium. Then there is a dilatation of the endoplasmic reticulum, and because of the dilatation of the endoplasmic reticulum, there will be the detachment of the polysomes, and these could be seen as the myelin figure. This is very important. Many of the times in the examination you have been asked about the myelin figure. So these are the basically the membranes, clusters of the membrane which have been disrupted in the cell injury. Then there could be the nuclear alterations, and there will be the disaggregation of the granular and the fibrillary elements. Here in this picture you can see here that this is the normal tubules, and here you can see microvilli. This is a very good picture, and here you can see a very good nucleus, a well-maintained cell with the microvilli. But what is happening in the picture B? Let's see here that there is a detachment of the microvilli, there is a blubbing. Here we are having the bleb, again the bleb formation. I'm showing you with the picture also. So here's the bleb formation. If you can see in the later on picture, you are seeing that there is no nucleus here. So all of the nucleus has been disintegrated. Karyolysis has then happened. So in this picture there is a karyolysis. Here there is a karyorrhexis in process, and here you can see the whole of the cell has gone down. So if you can see in the electron microscopic picture or ultrastructural changes, these are your normal cell and these are the microvilli. This is your very much normal nucleus and other figures. And here you can see that there is a formation of the vacuoles here and the vacuole, and there is a disruption of the mitochondria. Here you can see the disruption of the mitochondria and amorphous densities are going to form, and there is no cilia which is present on the upper surface. And in the last picture here you can see that whole of the cell has been changed into the globular like structure. So this is the most important thing. So my dear students, just remember this thing. The most important targets of the cell injury will be aerobic respiration. So the aerobic respiration is going to change into the anaerobic respiration, ATP depletion because of the decrease of the oxygen supply. So we are having the ATP depletion. There will be the cell membrane lysis, and the plasma membranes and the mitochondrial membranes and the lysosomal and other membranes are going to be disrupted. Your protein synthesis will be lessen up. There will be the cytoskeleton changes. There will be the genetic apparatus like karyorrhexis, karyolysis is going to happen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 things are very, very important. So whenever you are going to start any of the flow sheet, first of all you have to tell me that your respiration will be disrupted and there will be the decrease in the oxygen supply. Whenever there is a decrease in the oxygen supply, then there will be the decreased ATP production. Whenever we are having the decreased ATP, so cellular working cannot take place. And whenever there is no cellular working that is going to take place, what is going to happen? That your pumps which is outside your cell membrane are not working properly. And when they are not working properly, what is going to happen? There will be the reversal of the changes. So water is coming along with the sodium and potassium is going out. So there will be the disruption in the cellular membranes and the other organelles, and we are having the changes into the endoplasmic reticulum. So protein synthesis will be decreased, cytoskeleton will be damaged, and your genetic apparatus DNA will be disrupted, like karyorrhexis, karyolysis is going to happen in this thing. So just remember, we are going to discuss these things one by one. So decreased ATP, multiple downstream effects, mitochondrial damage, leakage of the pro-apoptotic proteins, entry of the calcium is going to cause the increase in the mitochondrial permeability by opening the voltage gated channels. Then there will be reactivation of the multiple cellular enzyme. Then there will be increase in the reactive oxygen species because of the decreased ATP. There will be the increase in the reactive oxygen species, and all you know that reactive oxygen species are the worst damaging thing that can happen because they have the deficient electron. They are going to bind with the other proteinous structure or nucleic acid structure, and they are going to destroy the lipids, proteins and DNA. Then there will be the membrane, plasma membrane damage. So there will be the loss of the cellular content, and once there will be the lysosomal membrane disruption, there will be the enzymatic digestion of the cellular component. And the most important, the last thing that is going to happen is that there will be the DNA damage, and in the DNA damage we are going to have protein misfoldings, and because of this there will be the activation of the pro-apoptotic protein. So this diagram is very, very important. You have to remember these 6 things that are very, very important, and these all are leading into the catastrophic effects of the irreversible injury. First of all, if there is an ischemia, there will be the decreased oxygen supply. As I have told you, ischemia means decreased blood supply. Whenever there is a decreased blood supply, there will be decreased oxygen. Once there is a decreased oxygen, there will be decreased oxidative phosphorylation. When there is a decreased oxidative phosphorylation, there will be the decreased ATP production. Once there is a decreased ATP production, what is going to happen? There will be more anaerobic glycolysis. And because of the anaerobic glycolysis, my dear student, what is going to happen? That there will be the increase in the lactic acid production, and whenever there is an increase in the lactic acid production, what is going to happen? That there will be the decrease in the pH, and because of the decrease in the pH, there will be the clumping of the nucleochromatin materials. So because of the decreased ATP, there will be the decreased working of the sodium potassium pump, and I have told you that there will be the influx of the calcium, sodium and water, and efflux of the potassium, and because of this there will be the cellular swelling, loss of the microvilli and blast formation. And because of the decrease of the ATP, there will be a detachment of the ribosomes from the endoplasmic reticulum, and the other thing there will be the decrease in the protein synthesis, so lipid will be deposited. So this is all because of the decreased oxidative phosphorylation and the increase in the anaerobic glycolysis. So just remember this thing, that in the mitochondria we are going to have a reduced oxidative phosphorylation, cell membrane is going to reduce sodium bump, sodium and water are going to enter into the cell and potassium is going to exist, endoplasmic reticulum is going to dilate and cell will swell, anaerobic glycolysis with loss of glycogen, accumulation of the lactic acids, and there will be the interference of the with the enzyme. And because of the anaerobic glycolysis, just remember there is a loss of glycogen, and glycogen is the main structural element, so this is very important thing. Because of the failure of the calcium pump and leads to the influx of the calcium into inside the cell, you know that the calcium is a very catastrophic within the cell, and it's going to activate various enzymes, like it is going to activate the DNase, it is going to activate the proteinases, it is going to all the ases, all the destructive enzymes will be activated. We are going to discuss this in a later chapter, in a later discussions. Then there will be the disruption of the ref endoplasmic reticulum, the protein synthesis are going to fall. So whenever there is no protein synthesis, there is no production of the enzymes, there is no production of the structural proteins, so we are going to have a less number of the cytoskeleton. Already your skeleton is damaging, so there is no repair process is also going on. And because your karyorrhexis and karyolysis, we are having the misfolded protein, and this lead to the unfolded protein response, which is going to further damage the cell. So what is going to happen when there is influx of the calcium to the cytosol that is coming from the extracellular fluid? The calcium is going to activate the phospholipases. As you know that phospholipases are going to damage the phospholipid, which is the main component of the cell membrane. Then calcium is going to activate the proteases. Proteins. So proteins are the main components of the cell membrane and the cell skeleton. Then calcium is going to activate the endonucleases. My dear students, so all of the things are going to damage. So your cell membrane will be damaged because of the phospholipases, because of the proteases, cytoskeleton will be damaged, and because of the endonucleases, DNA will be damaged. So this is the main important triggering factor. And once, particularly in hypoxia and ischemia and cytotoxic, calcium rise is very important in the converting the reversible injury into irreversible one. So preventing the rise in the calcium or restoring to the normal levels of the calcium can prevent cell death. So this is very important. If you can maintain the normal calcium level within the cell, then it can prevent the cellular injury. So here you can see again, calcium is coming within inside the cell, and this is going to activate the phospholipases, proteases, endonucleases, and the most important thing, ATPases. In your cell, because of the ischemia, you have already decreased number of ATP, and when this calcium is going to activate the enzyme ATPase, so it is further going to decrease the ATP. So this is a vicious circle. Decrease in the ATP is further going to deteriorate the condition within the cell, and once the cytosolic calcium is going inside, the mitochondrial permeability will be increased because of the transition channels, and because of the transition channels opening, there will be the apoptosis. And once this is, because here you can see that the cytochrome C is going to leak outside from the mitochondria, and then it can initiate the process of apoptosis. So along with the necrosis, there could be an apoptosis because of the calcium that is going to release from the mitochondria. So my dear students, what is going to happen? That there will be the production of the free radicals, and these free radicals have deficient unpaired electron in the outer orbit. So because they have deficient in one electron, they are ready to make bonds with everything. So the examples of the oxygen free radicals are superoxide, hydrogen or radicals, H2O2 or hydrogen peroxides. And what is going to happen in normal respiration, that there are counter to these free radicals, and these are called as superoxide, dismutase, glutathione peroxidase, vitamin E, vitamin C, and catalases. So whenever they are going to produce in excess, these forces are going to play the role, and they take in the charge, and so they can keep a balance between the production of the free radicals and their destruction by the superoxide dismutase and the glutathione peroxidase. These damaged molecules may themselves be reactive species with the chain reaction being set up with the widespread damage. So my dear student, today's your homework is you just have to tell me what is the role of the oxygen free radicals and what are the things that can remove the free radicals. So the removal of the free radicals is by superoxide dismutase in the mitochondria, by the glutathione peroxidase in mitochondria, as it is going to convert the hydroxyl ion into hydrogen peroxide, and hydrogen peroxide can further changes into the water and the oxygen. Then catalysis and peroxisomes can change the hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. So just remember this thing, these reactive oxygen species can bond with the fatty acid, and these can cause the fatty acid oxidations. Protein, they can bind with the proteins and they can loss of the enzymatic activity. They can bind with the DNA and they can cause the oxidation, mutation and the breakdown in the mutation in these cells. So how these are going to form? Whenever there is any reaction like inflammation, radiation, chemical or free energy, there is a production of the superoxide, and normal in the body, what is going to happen that this superoxide dismutase within the mitochondria is going to convert it into hydrogen peroxide, and then there will be a Fenton reaction and this can convert into the hydroxyline. But what is going to happen that we need this removal of the oxygen free radicals for a proper functioning of the body. In addition to all of this, we can have nitric oxide as oxygen free radicals. We can have iron and copper catalysts which are going to cause the free radical formation, and this is important in the generation of the oxygen free radicals. And just remember this thing, that the binding of these molecules such as transferrin, ferritin is a very protective function. So ceruloplasmin, that is most important for the copper deposition and copper transformation, transferrin and ferritin for the iron. These things are very important and have an important role. Oxygen free radicals can cause lipid peroxidation in the cell membrane, and these can also cause the oxidation. So in an injury, the most important thing is to alter the functions of this free radicals by giving the by activating the roles of the superoxide dismutase and giving the vitamins and catalysis outside the inside the cells. So here is the whole of the damage. That this is the answer of your first question that I have asked you in the start, that how can this membrane be damaged. So because of the oxygen supply decrease, there will be decreased ATP, and because of the decreased ATP, we have just discussed that there will be the anaerobic respiration. Because of the anaerobic respiration, there is an increased lactic acid production. Because of the increased lactic acid production, there is a decrease in the pH. Because of the decrease in the pH, there could be a destruction in the molecular bonds, phospholipid loss, and we have increase in the calcium, and because of the calcium we have increase in the phospholipase and protease, and this can damage the cytoskeleton and the membrane damage. So this is for today. I hope you are able to understand this. You just have to draw the diagram of the membrane damage, and you have to tell me about the functions of the free radicals and how we can prevent the damage of the free radicals. Thank you very much for